Hello. I am in the process of moving my whole sewing room into the den from the garage. So I'm in a new location. This will not be my permanent location, but that's why it's a new view. So I want to actually try to show you today what would happen when we don't get our way with EQ8. Sometimes we give it too much information and it breaks, and we need to figure out how to fix it. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm really going to test its limits and show you what to do when we need to fix it, how to make it work. So this is our water bottle block that we were working on last week. And I do actually want to add some more detail to it. My water bottle is, rounded and curvy, and so we'll add some more detail. But as of right now, this is what we ended up with, and this is where we are. And when we go to print a foundation pattern, and we'll give it a second to think, this is what comes up. Now, this should be auto-filled. EQ8 is capable of filling it in and creating the pattern for us, creating the steps and the numbering and everything we need. In this case, it hasn't done it for us. Now, I could come in here like this and manually fill in everything, group everything, I could do it. But the goal here is actually to have EQ8 do it for us. That's just the simpler thing. Now, if I'm working on a really complicated pattern, I might not rely on EQ8 to do it for me. But in this case, this is not that complicated. EQ8 can do it. We have just given it too much information. There is something in here that it does not like or cannot compute. There is something here that it does not think will work as a foundation paper piecing pattern. So we can go about this several ways. If we really want to figure it out, I will come in here and click foundation again and really evaluate what's happening. Is there maybe a Y seam? And it's going to be a very subtle Y seam. But there is something in here that EQ8 does not like. So I could try and evaluate and click and make sections and do numbering and then really evaluate and see what it is. But in this case, it's a pretty simple pattern. So what I'm actually going to do is come to the draw page, and I will right click and click convert to guides. So what this is going to do is it'll keep our current lines on there, but they're guidelines now. So now we can come in and start over. But what I'm going to do is pay close attention to the order in which I draw the lines. I'm going to pay close attention to my snapping options to make sure I'm on the correct setting when I do it, because I want to give EQ8 as much opportunity as possible to understand what I'm asking of it, so that I don't want to just throw a bunch of information at it and make it figured out, and then potentially it will not. So, because that's where we went wrong last time. So once I get a pattern designed, like if I'm working on a complicated pattern, I will go ahead and draw the lines, get everything where I want it, and then I'll come back to this step, change it to guidelines, and redo it slowly and carefully and really pay attention to what I'm doing. So for the most part, I'm going to start carving off the bigger pieces first, just like we always do. I'm going to carve off the larger pieces. Now, here's the real trick. I will very often go to the color page and just let it convert these lines and get them real settled, essentially. I don't know the word for it, but it's converting them. They're a part of it now, and if we go to print and export at this point, you'll see the difference. A1, A2, A3. This is super easy. It should be able to do this, but you'll see as we go along, there might be a point where it can no longer turn this into a pattern, and that's probably something we did. We gave it too much information. We made a Y seam, something like that. But this is how I keep track and make sure that as I'm designing, EQ8 understands what I'm doing. It understands what I'm asking of it, and it'll work with me. We want it to work with us. So as I draw these lines, I'm going to pay attention to where the sections will be, and I'm going to pay attention to the order in which I draw the lines. So for instance, I can't draw these little lines until I've drawn this large horizontal line. That's just the way it is. If we draw these little lines, they'll get deleted when we go to color. So you need to make sure that you're drawing the lines in the correct order. So I'm going to go ahead and do these horizontal lines here, and let's move that one up. And we'll do this one last one down here. Okay, now we'll go to color. We'll let it think about it. It really needs to think about it. It needs to turn these sections, turn these lines into sections, and somehow we have lost a line here. So I'll go ahead and redo that one. Probably when we moved it. There we go. Okay, let's give it something that's easier to see. There, okay. And now, again, it's pretty early in the process. It's still a very simple block, but I just want you to see what it looks like when we go to print. It still knows what we want of it. It still can make a pattern out of it and add the numbering. Now, I would change this numbering. We want the largest piece to be A1, but that's not a big deal. We can change that later. But right now, it still understands what we're asking of it. So I'm going to keep adding these lines in. Let's see, I'm actually going to move this one up again. Okay, and then let's just zoom in on this area. There's no need to try and see it. So I would say this right here is going to be a section of its own. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. And I'll do this section, and this is a section. So I'm really just separating the sections at this point. Let's take a look here. This is going to be number 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think this is where we broke it last time, because this needs to be a section on its own, but it's really not at this point. So probably what I should do, we can either bring this straight up. That one doesn't want to go straight up. This one could go straight up. If we do that, actually, let me do this. Let me show you what would happen if we just work it like we had before. Let me see if I can get it to break, like I said, because I really want to test its limits. And I want you to see what it looks like and how to come back from that. Oh, let me turn nodes on. Okay, so as of right now, this doesn't work so well. So let's go print and export and see what it's going to tell us. Okay, it's still computing. And yeah, sure enough, it has this as a separate section, which is doable, but then it just kind of has these as individual pieces. I want to see if there's an easier way to do this. So we could, let's try this. What if we make this one line and get rid of this one? That will not work either. Nope, that's a never mind. Sometimes it just takes trial and error. Sometimes you have to wrap your brain around it. So what we can do is pick, and we can turn individual lines into guidelines if we want. So I'm going to delete these and start this section over. It's this. Okay, this is definitely a good section, I guess. And then I feel like maybe we should come this way and just break that whole thing off. And then this becomes a section. Those are going to be sections individually, but that's okay. And then, oops, we'll finish this up. This might change anyways once we add some more detail. But for now, this is how it's going to be. I'm going to draw these really long because sometimes if you have a really short line, they don't see how it did not actually catch. So I draw them really long and it just seems to actually catch the next line. Let's zoom in here, add that curve to our bottle. Okay, so I will go ahead, oops, wrong button, and color this in. I don't remember what color this was. It's not important right now. There we go. Let's add some curve to the bottom. Let me show you another way that maybe you can break it. We're going to add some curve, kind of like what we're doing up here. And actually, as a matter of fact, I want to copy this exact shape right here. So I'm going to choose pick, and I'm going to highlight that section of lines right there. I'm going to Command C for me on a Mac. I'm just going to copy. You could right click and copy. And then I'm going to come down here, right click and paste. They're up there. I'm going to bring them down here, but see, now we need to rotate them to fit in this corner. So right click, click on symmetry, flip, and I'm going to put them in this corner, but probably what's going to happen is it's going to freak out at us. So let's go to color, see if all those lines are still there. They're still there. We don't actually need this line here. Let's go get rid of that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to copy it, this one. And click on symmetry. And put him in this corner. Okay. Let's see what happens now. I actually think maybe I don't like this last line. I almost want it to come here. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, actually, yeah, it looks okay. Let's see if we broke it. Let's see if it'll still turn it into a pattern for us, because this should all be one big section here. Yeah, see? That was too much information. Copying and pasting all of those lines at the same time, it was too much for it. Now, again, we could come in here and section it ourselves, do it manually. I just don't want to. And this is still such a simple pattern that we just don't need to. So we have a couple choices. Again, we're pretty sure that it's these bottom lines that are the issue. Let's just zoom in on those real quick and see if there's anything funny about them. No, they actually look okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to redraw these lines, and just these lines. We could right click and turn the whole thing into guidelines, but I just don't think we need to do the whole thing. I really think the problem is in these bottom lines here. So on pick, you can select a group of lines, right click, convert to guides. Just that group of lines. That's all we need. And then I'll fill it in. So we're going to come back to our snapping options and make sure they're on the correct ones. And then we'll fill in these lines here first. Let's see what happens if we take away just these bottom lines. Like, will it convert it back to a pattern for us? That's the real question. So I'm going to do it over here as well. And fill in the important lines. Okay, let's see what happens. Turn it into a pattern. Can it do it? No. So it's gonna have some trouble here. So what we'll do is go back to draw. But now that we have these guidelines here that we like them there and we fixed this, we're going to, actually we're gonna do this first. We can clear the guidelines, but I really wanna use the new guidelines. So I'm gonna fix this before I clear the guidelines. So do we like it that angle? I feel like I don't want quite that steep. So let's do like, whoops, we got it, see, on the wrong snapping option. Let's do, how does that look? I think there. It's this one that is kind of, oops. Oh, there, I like that angle right there. It's just a little different. Okay, let's clean that up. I don't need this line. And we're going to duplicate it and send it over to the other side. Okay, so what we're gonna do is right-click, clear guides. That got rid of the old guidelines. Now that we have the lines where we want them to be, we're going to convert to guides. And we're gonna redraw it one more time. We're gonna make sure that, why are you being slow? Oh, because there's just those were selected apparently, convert to guides. There we go. We're gonna make sure again that we take it slow, we give it lots of time to think, and we kind of do it in the correct order. Essentially, I do it in the backwards order. However, I would sew them together. I design the pattern in the backwards order. So these large pieces are the last ones we'll sew on. So they're the first ones I'm going to cut off. I'm going to draw. And then I will do these large horizontal lines, and we'll have to edit that one. Let's see, and this one. And this one, we'll have to edit that one as well. Snap to line so we don't lose this line. Oops, let's turn that off. There we go, that one's good. Move this one up. There we go. Let's see how that looks. Looks good. And we'll draw our diagonal lines here. I almost feel like we've got an extra line that we don't need there, but we'll deal with that later. Okay. Let's check in on EQ8, see how it's doing. Should be all one section right now. Yep, all one section. So we're okay right now. Let's keep going. I'm going to zoom in here and do our details. And let's see, let's do this one. Let's see, let's do this one next. But see, here's what I'm not gonna do. This is technically one line between here all the way up here. But I'm not gonna draw it as one line because I don't wanna confuse it, because we have actually sectioned them off. So this is a section and this down here is a section. So I don't wanna draw this line that connects both sections because EQ8 might read that the wrong way. in my experience, it'll say, oh, well, you drew that as a straight line. You want that as a section. So it'll do something funny like sectioning this off, and then it'll section it funny. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and draw the lines in this section. And see the same thing down here. I'm not going to draw this line all the way down. I'm going to stop there and let it think about it. And as of right now, let's just see what it's looking like. Okay, so that's looking good. We've got a big section and then 3 and 1 on each side. Let's keep going, see if we can get it a little more detailed and not freak it out. Whoops. And we'll give it a let's see what happens now that we did that little bit of detail, because every time we go to print, it is saving that sound you're hearing, means it's saving that version. So if we come and it is not exporting to an actual pattern, if it has not filled in for us, we can just go back to our sketchbook and pull up the last version that it saved. The last time we printed, we know it was good. So we can always just go back a step. You're not losing all of your progress. That's why I like to go often to the print and export tab and have it work it up so that I have that constant saving of the last version, the very last version we did that we know worked. So let's add these curves real quick. I'm going to add this and come, oops, see, it didn't save that little section there. And we'll do all of our curves. But like I said, if we go over now and it freaks out on us, we can just go back to the last version that we saved. Let's just check again. Might as well while we're at it. Did it get that? Does it understand what we're asking it? That looks really good. Okay. One more thing. Oops. Down here, we'll add these curves and see how, when I was copying and pasting and editing, it wasn't perfect. So we converted it to lines, and now we can do it better and do it right. Okay, we'll color it on our way. I love this fabric there. And I actually like that. That. And the blue was fun. Let's do a different, oh no, I think we want a darker blue. There we go. I love that, that's so cute. I want a different background actually. I don't hate that. I don't hate any of those, that's the problem. Oh, let's just go with that. Okay, print and export. Let's see if it worked. Oh, something in the last little bit did not work, but that's okay. Like I said, we can go back to our last version. So let's say all the way down here, it would be this one. This is pretty much everything except for those bottom curves. So we've got everything else, and we know this one worked. So it's just this bottom section here. We either fed it too much too quickly, which is usually the case. We fed it too much too quickly. That's okay. Let's just take it slow. I'm gonna just do 2 lines at a time and then see if it can handle that. Okay, so far so good. Let's keep going. We'll go back to here. We'll do the next 2 lines. And see, I'm not even gonna do all 3 lines here. I'm just gonna give it 1 line in an area at a time. Like if there's a line that works off of another line, I'm not going to give it 2 lines connected. I'm just going to do 1 line off of each and see what happens. Oh, see, it did not like that. That's okay. Let's go back to that last version, which would be this one. And let's try that again. We're just gonna do 1. We're not even gonna do 2 of them in that case. Something about it, it just did not like. That's okay. It's having a bad day. Okay, let's try it now. Something about the bottom of that. Let's go back to the last one that works. So this one, I'm actually going to go ahead and delete that because it's not actually working. And then that one didn't work either because that's the last one that broke. Let's go back here and double check. No, I don't want to save it because it didn't work. Let's just double check that we can get a pattern out of this one. Okay, that one's still good. And I just got that 1 line down at the bottom. So let's color it real quick. And then I'm gonna double check it after coloring it even, because the coloring doesn't usually mess anything up, but you know what? You never know. Okay, this is the good version. I'm gonna change the background because I actually really like this background. There we go. And then let's see if we can get, we've got our snaps correct. Let's just do 1. I just need 1 line out of you. Whoops, that's the wrong button. Come on. You can do it. No, you cannot do it. Let's see what happens if we just delete this. What happens if we delete it? Can it do it? No. Okay, let's go back to here. Did this one print? I don't remember. I feel like this one, oh, it did. Okay. No. Let's do the other side. Here's what I'm gonna do. Let's give it a nice long tail. Sometimes it does better. Work with us here. Fingers crossed. No. Okay, so in this case, if it's gonna fight me like this, I will go ahead and finish drawing these lines and then I will section it off manually because I do want these lines. And at this point, I pretty much know that the pattern is good. Like, it's really just these lines that it does not like. So I also know how it's supposed to be numbered, and I know, oops, I need to change that coloring. I know that it'll work. So I'm just going to do it myself at this point. So let me double check the coloring here. Okay. I'm gonna do one more thing actually. Let's just zoom in on those lines. They look good. But you know, if something happened and they got skewed but no, they look good. I don't know exactly what it is. Something about it is just not happy about, but we'll just go ahead and section it ourselves. And actually, it's an excellent opportunity to show you how to section. So we'll go to the Sections tab, and we're going to click Start Over. Now, we're going to start with this big one. So 1, and then we'll do these individual shapes. Okay, and then we've got 3 up this side and 3 up this side. We're going to hit Group. That's our first section. We'll do these next. Group, Group, and then this one can take all of that group. Let's do, this could go either way. I don't think it really matters, but let's go this way. And this one, whoops, okay. If you click something that was not meant to be in that section, you hit Shift and click it again, and it undoes it. You do not have to start over. And, ooh, I could have added this on. I could undo it if I wanted to, but I don't want to. Then we'll just finish up with the big pieces and we're done. Okay, let's go check our numbering because we definitely want, this is A1, that's good. D1, sometimes it chooses a different numbering, but this all looks good. Okay, the numbering is good. We're going to Options. We're going to add a seam allowance, color fill, print, separate, and mirror because it's foundation paper piecing, so it is mirrored. And we're going to preview, and we need to move these around. So I like to put, like if there's 2 background pieces on the, I'll just put them on the same page. That just keeps them nice and tidy and organized and together. And then look, this other background piece can go down there too. He will go here, and the rest of them can fill in this space here. And that keeps those nice big background pieces on this page all by themselves. And then the pieces we have to piece are all here. I like that. That's not bad at all. Give them lots of room. This doesn't really matter. Okay. And then we'll just hit print. Now, for me, it'll go to my PDF printer. What I will do is double check. I've printed the pattern pieces and I really just want to see the bottom of that bottle. Like, is there a funny reason why it's acting up? But no, it looks fine. So I don't know why EQ8 just had a hissy fit, but it happens sometimes. So I wanted to show you how to overcome that when it does. So at this point, I'm happy with this pattern. We've got a little bit more detail. And I really just wanted to show you how to fix problems this week. So in 2 weeks, what we can do is add even more detail to our bottle. We'll keep the current lines and we'll just give it a little more curve. And I'll talk about how the different ways we can add that concave angle. So we want our water bottle to have like a waistline. And there's a couple different ways we can draw it so that we have to divide that concave angle, but I'll show you a couple different ways to do it. So we'll talk about that next time. So let me know if you're designing your own water bottle or whatever you are designing. I would love to see it. Also, big announcement in case you missed it, which you might not have because I've been announcing it everywhere. I have booked a Caribbean cruise for April of 2025, and it's a 10-day Caribbean cruise, and we're doing a quilt that I designed. So you can head to the link in the description for more information, but it's April 2nd through 12th of next year, and it's a Western Caribbean cruise. We go to Jamaica, Honduras, Belize, and we sew on the boat during our days at sea. So this quilt is only available on the cruise, and your cruise price includes the full quilt kit to make the quilt top. So I hope to see you there. I will see you later.